1. Okay, everyone. Welcome again to the super fantastic, super awesome Dame podcast, where we talk about Nintendo stuff. I'm Wonder Raid, joined as usual by my good man Jellyfishin. Yep. The fantastic, the phenomenal, the Japanese legend. All right, so today is February 16th, and there's actually a pretty good amount of news this week, unlike last week. So we got some good stuff to jump right into. And the first bit of news that we're going to go into that was announced early this week was the Splatoon 2 global Testfire, which is going to be one weekend only. It'll be the March 24th to 26th, so in the same month the Switch launches. Through certain hours throughout the day on each of those 3 days, Splatoon 2 will be playable, free demo to anyone who has a Switch. And so I put that out there, and I ask you, Jellyfishin, what thinkest thou?
Well, my biggest worry is how big is the download, since it's only downloadable. But
yeah,
I'm excited.
Oh, and that's something we haven't dabbled a lot in.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. But I think it was a great idea. I think the for Splatoon 1, or just Splatoon as the official title is, I think the Testfire did pretty well, like the stress test or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Is it stress test or Testfire? It's stress test, right? The official name.
Well, it is a stress test. Nintendo officially calls it the global Testfire.
Yeah, but that's basically what.
Either one works, but it is a stress test for the servers officially.
Yeah, I think it gave Splatoon some momentum for the Wii U. And I mean,
oh yeah,
I think it does what a lot of demos don't do. Specifically, these kind of test fires or stress tests. It's like you can actually try the game and see what it's like. And with a multiplayer game like this, I think it's a great way to do it. I mean, I was trying to think of a fancy way to put that, but I think it's a good idea. That's basically all it comes down
to. well, maybe I'll be able to help you. I'm not usually eloquent myself. Well, and it's funny because you brought up the whole thing about it being a stress test, and I just sitting here thinking, it's like, it is a stress test, but if I got Miyamoto in a Truth or Dare and Truth, and I ask him, is the Splatoon thing a stress test, or is it just a giant publicity stunt? Like, is it just a marketing tool? I would not be surprised if he said yes, like, legitimately.
If you asked him which was it, he would say yes. I guarantee it.
Yeah, he would just say yes. Mysterious Miyamoto. And then he would upend a tea table and fly away.
He would say, "Don't ask me questions."
Don't pick my eye. But I mean, the way I kind of see it is now, and I think we touched on this last week when talking about like what ARMS needs to do to be successful. But something like this, and specifically in Japan, like we talked last week, how really the system seller right now is Breath of the Wild. But I think for a lot of people, because they've only announced it for March, I wouldn't be surprised if they do another one. I think they did 2 test fires previously. But all of a sudden, you now have a pretty compelling reason to own a Switch early.
Not just later.
Aside from Breath of the Wild. Actually, I mean, because of Breath of the Wild's availability on Wii U, you could argue this is one of the bigger reasons why you would want to switch early, aside from just new technology.
Aside from bringing,
and I think for a lot of people, and I think like a lot of people who might have been like on the fence about whether or not they wanted to switch, this is definitely something that can push them towards getting it soon. And I think overall, this is going to be a very positive thing. I remember streaming the first Testfire, and it was a lot of fun, and I remember being a lot of people enjoying it.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Testfire was good. I really like, and it's also going to be a very important. Well, I think it's going to be important to see how the online works as well. Splatoon was
Sure.
decent, but the biggest problem was players in the U.S. playing with players in Japan was pretty much how it is. Like, if you're a player in the U.S. for Splatoon, like, you were
You
it was like
prepare
seven
to
out of
travel, have your connection go overseas.
seven. It was like 6 or 7 people in most lobbies were Japanese, and so there was some issues with internet there. But I think it'll be really important to show what capabilities it, will have as far as internet goes. How
Right.
Splatoon runs.
Yeah. Well, because, yeah, and I think, yeah. I mean, online is going to be a big part of the Splatoon ecosystem, as it already has been. And this will be a good way for people to get that second, hopefully, reassurance that it's going to run well and that it will be able to make it bigger into the other markets too. Because we've already talked to death about how popular Splatoon is in Japan.
Yeah.
But it would be good to see that same level of attention in the U.S. and other areas. Which, on that same note, I think that does segue well into another thing that was announced alongside it, which is the new spectator mode. And again, I think I want to pass this on to you for your opinions, definitely first, as someone who is going and does stream a lot of Splatoon. What do you think of the new spectator mode?
I think the spectator mode is fantastic. It's just what a lot of competitive Splatoon players wanted. Obviously, the biggest problem with streaming Splatoon in the past was the, specifically competitive Splatoon. You have to have only one person's, perspective. That's all you can have, no matter what you do. There might have been hacking or whatever. I don't think there was, though. But anyway, so it was one person's view, and in such a team-based game, and, Nintendo, when they first showed us Splatoon, it's, hey, look, you cover the ground and your team controls territory, and that's how you move forward. But for that kind of a game, to not be able to see what's on the gamepad, to not be able to see the map, to not, have that sense of, okay, this is what's going on all over the map, not just what this one person's doing, I think that's pretty important.
Right. Well, and I think, and I should clarify for those who haven't heard about the spectator mode. The spectator mode allows 2 observers in a match, and they can jump very quickly from player to player. So, like, all the players on one team are a different D-pad direction, and all the players on the other team are a button like A, B, X, or Y, and you just hit that button, you'll jump to that player's perspective, or you can zoom out and see a full map perspective.
Yeah.
And just like what you said, Jellyfishin, I watch a lot of tournaments of video games, but not a lot of shooters. And like the only one I can really say I've tried to watch is Overwatch. And that was something that even with like a spectator mode, I found that I remember when Overwatch first came out and people had a hard time knowing like what part of the action they should be looking, but they got better and better. And now with this spectator mode, I think, like what you said, with how Splatoon works, with the way of not only do you just need to know the kills and deaths and everything like that, but also where paint is and what the actual field looks like, that this spectator mode is going to do good things. Like, I was actually very impressed to the point that it was like, if you had any doubts about the competitive esports push Nintendo wants for this game, it's right here in spectator mode. Like, Nintendo's serious about this stuff.
And it ran really smooth as well. Like, it seemed transitioning between it was really easy, and even just
snappy. It was quick.
Even just watching it, you can say, okay, like, I can tell what's going on. I can see what teamwork or lack thereof is going on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With Splatoon,
well, and I think like
with that over the top view as well, it will be very easy to see where all the action is going on. And so I think,
and
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, yeah, you can get to see, like, like maybe you have the main battle going around, let's say the Rainmaker in the center, but you have somebody sneaking around the side, and that overhead map will be able to catch all of that.
And I think the way they implemented it was pretty good too. With the Wii U, it was just too hard because there was no way to stream what was on the gamepad unless you have some complex system of having a camera over your gamepad or have some hacking done. But I think, just being able to connect another system, which I think is actually pretty interesting because that was also greater than 8 systems connected together. So interesting.
Yeah, wasn't it 10 switches can connect together?
Yeah, that's how it goes. They're all connected together. Yeah, so eight players, and then 2 other Switch systems can be simultaneously doing their own thing. As far as I know, they can be doing their own thing in the spectator mode.
So if I go to a Splatoon tournament, it'll just be bring my own Switch. Probably. Yep. I mean, I guess if like Nintendo sponsor tournaments, Nintendo might provide them because sometimes like they don't want you to bring your own in case like you hacked it or something.
That's another thing that they also mentioned with this: the ability to connect via LAN. So you can connect not only just by being close to each other through wireless, but the actual ability to connect through cords, which for competitive is
which is so important,
crucial.
I mean, just to kind of to help for all those in understanding, a wire connection not only makes it a lot easier to set up. If you are running like a tournament and you have a lot of wireless connections going on, there's going to be more interference, and it's already less stable than a wired connection as is. So just being able to have a nice, simple wired connection between the consoles will help it be more stable and a lot easier to run.
Yeah, and I mean, just having that kind of, I guess, structure for a tournament system is nice. Like, I love Smash Brothers tournaments, and I like that you can choose whatever controllers you want. But I really wish that we could just like I don't want to limit people in what controllers they use, but when you're running a tournament, having to deal with different controllers is kind of a big annoying thing at times, specifically with the Wii and the Wii U. But
the life of a TO.
Yeah, but anyways, just like having that kind of, and that, you know what, I shouldn't be saying this because they're gonna have different control options for Splatoon as well. But I'm assuming most tournament players are gonna be playing on the Pro controller instead of
on a Pro controller watching the screen. Well, and I think with that being said, I think Splatoon 2 is looking good. I think what you brought up about multiple controllers, though, there is actually a little piece of news that I almost forgot about that did come up recently, and that was they quoted the potential that the Switch can get an update that could potentially allow it to use past controllers, and the large implication with that was things like the Wii U Pro controller or the GameCube controller.
Interesting.
Hookup.
GameCube controller. How the heck would that work?
So, well, because that suckers a USB into the console, and then you have the 4 ports or whatever. Yeah, but they said that there's the potential for a update that would allow them to use old controllers.
How many USB ports does the system have? Oh, I guess we could talk about that later, seeing as we kind of saw a system, but.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but yeah, we'll get to that. If I had to guess, I think it's 2 or 3.
I know.
Either way,
2, like on one portion, there's 2 that are right next to each other, kind of like the Wii U. But I want to say there's 3.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. I mean, if you just use the GameCube adapter for the Wii U, that would be interesting. But you couldn't.
For sure.
I don't think you'd be able to use it on just the. What is that called? I mean, I guess it's the system. Like,
the dock?
Not the dock. Without the dock. I guess you just call that the system.
I guess that's the Switch itself.
Switch, okay. So I guess when you're not in docked mode, would you not be able to connect to USB?
I don't know.
Like,
I mean, I guess that would vary on the idea that's like, because you can use a Pro Controller while still having it in handheld mode, I think. In tablet mode, if that's what we want to call it.
We'll just call it gamepad mode and get hated for it. There you go.
Gamepad mode. Well, either way. Let's talk Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
Because we're still chunking away at the news segment of our show, our unofficial, random how it works news segment. The next big chunk of news, I feel like it's kind of like big stuff, is a season pass was announced for Breath of the Wild. And this season pass gets you the 2 DLC packs that they announced and a little bonus. The bonus is, it says it's 3 new treasure chests found in the Great Plateau, which is that first area, contains useful items and includes exclusive in-game clothing, which they said would like a shirt with a Switch logo on it is one of those. Then you also get the 2 DLC packs, like I said. Well, the first one comes out in the summer of 2017. Adds a new Cave of Trials challenge, the hard mode, and an additional map feature. And then the second DLC pack is just listed as Holiday 2017, and it's new original story, new dungeon, and additional challenges. So, jellyfishing, good or bad? What do you think? Well, what's all this hubbub about season passes? What do you think?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of on.
Has Nintendo turned to the dark side?
Have they? But at the same time, it'll be cool to get this content. You know. I mean, I think.
Well,
yeah,
I
think we can just go back to Miyamoto's saying about you can delay it. What I forget exactly what he says, but it's like a bad game is always bad. But like, anyways, it comes down to the point. Like, once you come out with the game, if it's bad, then it sucks. And I think we can just take that and throw it away, because with new updates and DLC, and Nintendo really, it seems like they're really jumping onto the bandwagon in a way. I think we can throw that out.
Well, and it's interesting because I think the Wii U generation was kind of, and I mean 3DS goes alongside that, but was kind of like a very it was a big learning time for Nintendo and how they wanted to handle DLC.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty controversial topic in the gaming community, right? And you had Mario Kart. You had, here, let me go back further. You had Fire Emblem Awakening, which was kind of like the first big DLC push by Nintendo. Then I think it was like Mario Golf. Then, obviously, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Splatoon. I was about to say Pokken, but then I realized we still haven't gotten Pokken, so Cry. But, Fire Emblem Fates had a bunch. So, I mean, I guess that depends. If you look at those games, do you think Nintendo did a good job with those? Do you feel like Zelda Breath of the Wild is going down a better or worse route?
It's a good question. I think in a way it's definitely different than a lot of those titles. We also had Pikmin 3 DLC. But additional story, I'm wondering if that's going to connect directly to this story, or if it's going to be to use an example,
a side story kind of a thing.
To use an example, something like a Phoenix Wright case that you could buy. It's kind of just its own little side story. I also wonder how big it's going to be. But I think with multiplayer games like Splatoon and Smash and Mario Kart, DLC works great, because it's okay, they have the game completed and they're adding new content Like, this is stuff that they originally hadn't planned, maybe. But it's new content that gets people really excited for the game. But Zelda, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, Cave of Trials, that was something that used to come in our Zelda games without us paying for it. Or,
Well,
hard mode.
It says, allow me to clarify. It says, well, this actually won't clarify, but it says adds new Cave of Trials challenge. I have been trying to stay away from spoilers, so I don't know. There might be an answer to this on the internet somewhere. I don't know if... Well, let's see. The first content pack is scheduled to launch this summer and will include the addition of a Cave of Trials challenge. So I have no idea if that means like a brand new, like the Cave of Trials itself will be brand new, or if it's like adding on to the existing Cave of Trials. Oh, and I should probably point out too that this thing is roughly expected to be around, it has 18 pounds, 20 euros, which I think to us puts us at around, or for dollars, that's like 16-ish, maybe $17.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was announced
something like that.
For us. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So about $20. Which,
yeah.
I mean, it's not cheap, but if you add all the Smash content, that ain't cheap either. So
$5.99, baby. Pay to win.
Beta win. Ooh.
Beta win.
So yeah.
I think as I kind of mull it over, like I am not in the camp that's been. I think overall Nintendo's DLC offerings, maybe in like the Fire Emblem games, is the only one I've not really cared for. Apart from that, it's all been pretty good in my opinion. Then again, I'm in the camp that's like, I'll take whatever more content you give me. This feels a lot like, for those of us who got it, how the way Hyrule Warriors did its DLC, which it did it in packs, and then I was not happy about the way they made a 3DS version, and then did a bunch of 3DS only content. But I digress. This seems to align a lot with my theory of Nintendo really pushing for the holiday season, and this is a way, like, and you even look at that second DLC pack, that's a lot more like concrete content than the first one, or the little bonus, and that's to make sure that Breath of the Wild is still relevant and strong in the holiday season. Which is when Mario Odyssey, and then where I think they really feel like they want people to, like, that's when they really want the Switch to perform well. And my guess is we'll probably see a Breath of the Wild bundle that has all the DLC in it probably by that point. Yeah, is my guess. And so yeah, as I look at it, normally I wouldn't be too against it. I'm all for more content on good games. But it does stink when you have stuff, and it was pointed out in chat on the stream that having something like hard mode be part of the DLCs kind of sucks. Yeah. An additional map feature is like, I don't know why I would care. Like, you still have to sell me on that. But that second DLC pack is cool. But it's one of those things I could easily see myself just grabbing that last DLC pack and not really worrying about the other stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like the summer one isn't that big, like you're saying, and the holiday one is the big one. But, like, will I want to go through this new update in the summer when Splatoon is coming out in the summer? Personally, no. I don't think I'll be buying this. Maybe not right now. I might buy it later, but, like, I'm definitely not buying it right away. I mean, we also have someone in the comments talking about, paying to pay online, $60 for games, an SD card if you are downloading it. And then in addition to that, DLC, that's not something everyone can do. And I think that will turn certain people away. And also, this is interesting. It's not really relevant in the US market, but pretty much every game here in Japan has its own individual pricing, and Zelda games are really expensive. They're like $80. So
Interesting, because I was gonna say, because I think like from my perspective, when I ask like, is this good or bad? I kind of think of like those jokes where people will like say, gaming in the past, and it will be like a piece of pepperoni pizza, and then it's like gaming in the present, and it has like a piece of like the pizza, but it, like all the toppings are gone, the cheese is gone, it's just the crust, and it's like base game. Cheese is $10, pepperoni is $5.
Yeah.
Like, do I think Nintendo's at that level? I don't. Do I think this is a step in that direction? Not necessarily. Do I think the DLC is good? Is my best. I think that like you said, I think that last bit is good, or is interesting, I should say, but that's kind of about it. I mean, I think there's from what I know, I mean, maybe the bad thing that can come from this, like the really bad thing, let's say I play through the next Zelda game, let's say I play through Breath of the Wild, and like it feels light on content. If that's the case, then all of a sudden this DLC proposition is going to feel really weird. Yeah. But if I have a lot of content, which is probably why games like Mario Kart and Smash Brothers and Splatoon, well, Splatoon was all free. Yeah. So Mario Kart and Smash Brothers felt so good, or felt okay, I should say, it was because there was already a lot there.
Yeah.
But if the game suddenly feels lighter because of DLC, then people are going to be real upset.
Yeah. I mean, this is my personal opinion that I'm just throwing out there. I think, for the most part, adding DLC to single-player games kind of rubs me the wrong way. But adding DLC to multiplayer games does not. Or, adding multiplayer modes to certain games or things like that. That does not, I guess, bother me as much as when they add new content to a single-player game. Well, I guess single-player, more like a campaign-based or story-based game, the way I'm thinking.
Right.
So, that's just my 2 cents, or 2 yen, I guess.
I think, here, let me add some baseless speculation and unsupportable hype. But I remember reading some comments on it, and people were speculating that since people had been talking with Aonuma so much about a playable Zelda, people are thinking that this extra story thing might somehow relate to a playable Zelda, which would definitely be interesting, to say the least.
Actually, it's going to be the new feature for the in-game map. It will have a 24/7 live feed of Zelda's perspective while you're playing the game, of her trapped in a dungeon.
Just like she's live streaming, like she's the streamer and she's watching Link, and she's just like she's doing a podcast basically.
In prison.
Yeah, it's Twitch IRL.
Prison, yes.
Live from Ganon's prison.
Social eating.
It's social eating or IRL. They still have to change. Man, that would be funny. And like, she transforms into Sheik. Anyways,
if it's not Tingle,
I think that's probably good on that section.
Then I don't want the in-game map.
Wow! Oh no! Yeah, the camera will have to turn off. Let's jump forward a bit. Let's move on. Let's talk about now. This is very recent news, and so chances are anyone who's watching the stream live has probably already heard about this. But we've got ourselves some Nintendo Switches in the wild.
Yes, or at least one. I don't know. Maybe
Namely, one is in the wild. Now, you guys have probably heard in the past of leaks, of course. We have Smash Brothers got its roster leaked. If I'm not mistaken, through an ESRB video, and that was an accident. Well, this is a whole new style of leak where Amazon literally just sent a guy his Switch almost pretty much 2 weeks early, and he doesn't have any games, so he gets to plug it in, turn it on, set it up, and just kind of look at it and enjoy it. But we've gotten some good tidbits out of this. If there are videos online of where you can find it, it was I can't remember the name of the guy or his like forum name.
What was it, like?
Hip Hop the Robot.
I was thinking Pothead. Nope, Hip Hop the Robot. That's the one. Not
Hip Hop the Robot,
Pothead.
an appropriate name for a lucky duck.
Yeah.
But there's been some,
By the
so
way,
you
we
can
don't
start
know if
seeing
it's-
some of the UI, the user interface, this setup, but some of the kind of the juicier tidbits to come out of this. We have your account system, aka we found out that your purchases will now be tied directly to the account and not to the system.
Yep.
And Jellyfishing is someone who experienced why that would be important. Perhaps you'd like to go into that. for me.
Yes. So my Wii U was stolen the first time, and when the Wii U first came out, from what I understand, it was either not easy or impossible to get some of your games back at the start of the Wii U's life. Like, a
Yeah.
little ways down the road. Luckily, my Wii U was stolen after this point, but yeah, my Wii U was stolen, and obviously all my games that I had downloaded or DLC and things like that, they were on that system, and I had to go through Nintendo. And it wasn't the easiest system, but it did work. But I mean, now that you just have an account and you link an account to a system really easily, and I'm assuming Nintendo doesn't have to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's really good.
It's going to be a very refreshing breath of air for a lot of people, because it's one of those things that that the stuff on your account is yours. You don't have to worry, like people who sold their Wii U's and then decided that they wanted to eventually buy a Wii U again down the line, or a 3DS, didn't suddenly lose all those games they had bought. Because your NNID was somewhat tied to certain systems and things like that. So this will make the things a whole lot easier. You'll have your account, and whatever you put it on, you can get your stuff on it. Wherever your account is.
Along with that,
that'll make things a lot easier.
Sorry? Along with that, the regions seem like they're very easy to switch between. As an owner of two DSs, a Japanese one and an American one, that's awesome. So I already have two NNID accounts that I could probably link to that, which is way cool.
Yeah. Didn't you say that there was when you create your account, it asks like what region you are?
So the very first, when you first start up the system, it'll ask what region you are, and then you have your name, and then your icon or whatever, and you can use Mii's for that, which brings up another point that I'll talk about later. But so it seems like, and it looks like you can switch between regions like at will. Like when he was going through the settings, it looked like the region section, you could just switch it. I don't know, but it looked like you could. So pretty cool.
Well, and I know, you're right, because I know there was a warning. Well, not a warning so much, but like a suggestion. Yeah. It says like when you connect to the eShop, and I don't know if this is something someone else found or if it is in this, but it says like when you connect to the eShop, please try to make purchases in your region, which will make it easier for Nintendo support to help you with anything related to those purchases. But we do know it is region free, which is fantastic. That means for the uninitiated, previously Nintendo consoles were region locked. Nintendo wasn't the only one to do this, but they're one of the few I know that has been doing this for a while. But it meant that like if I bought a copy of a Japanese Smash Brothers, I couldn't play it on a North American Wii U.
Yep.
There would be locks and restrictions in place to stop those from playing. Reasonings varied from so they could sell more to difficulties in the European market because there's a lot of different nations and regulations and stuff like that. But that's all going away. One big market, imports galore, you name it. And that also helps with worldwide releases. Yep. Yeah. So good stuff there. Themes were mentioned a little bit earlier. I know that a white theme and a dark theme has been confirmed. And then from here on, like, I would recommend checking out the videos. I kind of don't necessarily want to get into this too much right now, just because we not only has this one guy got his today, but at the same time, a lot of stores, I've read that apparently some GameStops are starting to get their Switch kiosks. IGN, I know, tweeted that they have their Switch and their Switch, or Switches, whatever, that they're going to be putting out a lot of content for soon. So by the time the next week's podcast rolls out, we'll probably already have a lot of information about this to go through. And so we can kind of go into more details then.
Yeah.
At least I feel like. But just for now, I would just say, hey, keep your guys' heads up. The videos are out there. We have little pictures of icons you can pick for yourself, and it looks like it's going to be... And all I'll say is I think the UI looks pretty clean and pretty smooth.
Yeah, it runs really fast.
And it makes the Switch... It makes the clicking noise when you turn it on.
Yeah. Something that...
The little snap.
Yeah, something that is interesting to note, though, like, they never told us anything about the UI or what kind of features are going to be on the system itself. Really.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, with the timing of this so-called leak, I also think it's interesting because with the Wii U, it was, I think, yeah, I have it right here. So it was 11 days before release that Iwata did his big video of opening the box and showing off the Wii U system. I believe he showed the Wada Wada Plaza of all of these things like that. He showed that quite a bit before. Like, that was something that they've been, talking about for the Wii U for quite a while, but we know nothing about the Switch. Oh, also the camera and how that works. We've seen that a little bit. But
if on that note, you said it was 11 days. Yeah. We are just about, if my math is right, that would be 15 days away from the Switch.
So in 4 days, they're probably going to release a video.
Which, I didn't want to buy into the hype at the time, but Koizumi and one of the producers of 1-2 Switch, Koizumi being the guy who did the big Switch presentation the first time.
Switch couch guy.
We're in... Yeah, Switch couch guy, and the Ice Cube guy.
The Galaxy Ice Cube guy. Yeah.
They were both at the Nintendo World Store in New York.
Ooh.
And they had a private event. We know they played 1-2 Switch as a big group, and there's a video of it. But there is rumors that they were also filming a Nintendo Direct.
Cool.
While they were there. Which, if that is the case, I will forgive Nintendo for quite a bit, because I think the lack of information on stuff like this is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
I think Nintendo should be the ones making the first steps to let us know how all this stuff, not Lucky Hip Hop Robot, as lucky and as I'm glad I am for him, I think it should be Nintendo should be the one putting their first foot forward. That's what I'm looking for.
Just because the Wii U wasn't as successful as other systems, it doesn't mean we can't point out things they did very well. And I think the Wii U, they showed us what things other than the games we were going to have. And with the Switch, not necessarily. It's like you can take it with you. I mean, and that's kind of the selling point. And for marketing, that's great because it's easy to market, easy to see, and everything. Yeah. But it would be nice to see a menu from someone, from Nintendo, not a random guy who accidentally got his Switch early. But
well, it's funny because I'm pretty sure that this is a early, like one of the first like straight up legitimate confirmations that we have of a working eShop on the system, which is like kind of ridiculous that we're just like barely have 100% confirmation that yes, the eShop will be there at launch. It's ridiculous to think that you wouldn't be able to use the eShop straight from the get-go, but like this is the first time we've really seen it.
Like, for example, my little brother, he also speaks Japanese. He wants a Japanese version of Zelda. And so he's contacting me. He's like, what do you think is the best way to do that? And he's like, should I just order a Japanese like cartridge and get it here? Because, I mean, it'll still work. It's not region locked. Or should I just wait and try to order it on the eShop? And I said, it's a risk because we don't even know if the eShop is going to be there.
All right. Maybe the only place that will get the best Switches will be in Mexico.
It's true.
So with that being said, I think we can move past this. Like I said, there's a lot more that we'll be seeing. I mentioned, that all the websites and the stores are getting them, so you will be seeing news about this soon. I was gonna just say we don't even know how or if or in what form the virtual console is gonna take on the system. If there's even going to be a virtual console at launch, which is kind of a big deal. And so Nintendo, that's been one of my biggest frustrations with the Switch push overall, is I don't know what reason Nintendo has to not be more forthcoming with details like this. Anywho,
just a couple things I wanted to point out, or just not necessarily answer, but raise questions. So you can have Mii's as your icon. Up until now, you have always been able to transfer your Mii's pretty much all the way up, or using your NNID, connect your Mii.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the Mii Creator is going to be exactly the same as it's been since that one 3DS update, or if it's going to be new, or if you can take your old Mii's and edit them and change them, or things like that. It's just an interesting thing to point out.
All right. Okay. I don't remember where I read this, and even if I'm remembering it correctly, but I think I heard that there will not only be Mii customization, but there will be more customization options in the Switch than there have been in previous Mii's.
Okay. Like clothes?
From what I think I remember, like more new hairstyles and facial options and stuff like that. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure I remember reading / hearing that.
I need high-res, like, amazing 1080p of that triangle black nose, That's what I need for my Mii's.
What was it that the Wii U had for that little time where it was like that little app that was like Ray to Me, and it would like have a contest between the two, and then everyone just like filled it up with just like SpongeBob's and Wario's and Peter Griffin's and just like as many. It just became a big contest to create the most lifelike Mii's or whatever.
In the Wii, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was the Wii, not the Wii U.
Like the Mii, I don't remember what it was called, but man, those were good times. Anyways,
you bring that up. That also, I'm reading something that does say you can transfer your Mii's from Wii U to 3DS, but we don't know how.
Well, you can transfer.
I'm pretty
Wii
sure.
U to 3DS easy. You mean to the Switch?
Yeah. Let's see. I got some right here. You can send or receive Mii characters through local wireless communication between Nintendo Switch systems, or use an amiibo figure to transfer Mii characters from Wii U and Nintendo 3DS systems.
Okay. You can use
That's weird.
Amiibos. Weird. Well, because sending back and forth between Wii U and 3DS has been really easy, if I remember correctly. But
yeah.
Amiibos, interesting. Okay, well, so that's
all right.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention about that. Oh, just that I better get my stickers on the Switch that I got from the badge center. I better get those. With that, we'll.
The UI had some sort of. It looked like some sort of connection to like the My Nintendo rewards. and people are thinking that could be some kind of funky way of doing achievements for Nintendo. So there's
That'd
that.
be cool. Hey, dude, I just want my badges. That's it.
The stinking
My
badges.
100% Splatoon decked out 3DS needs a friend.
You're a monster. When I found out that you had to pay for the majority of those, I was like, "This is never going to happen."
Well, you don't have to if you. Well, and okay, we can also talk about this, but Japanese favoritism as far as Nintendo goes, we get free plays on the badge center like every other day, and it's like 2 free plays. Where like in the U.S. system, or in the U.S. we get like 1 a week.
Yeah. I remember my wife tried it, and I was like, oh man, that would be rough.
Yeah. I played a lot more on my
All right.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's nail out. You got anything else for me? We got one more thing I think we can talk about, and then we'll probably wrap her up.
Well, no, just that the menu system looks it runs really fast, unlike Wii U. Wii U took, when it first came out, it was like what?
Yes, you're right.
Seconds to load the main screen up. A month.
Dude, you remember how it was before that like big June update or whatever they did that sped it up a lot, and even still, it's not super fast.
It was from startup to actually getting to the menu, and then like, what was it, like a month or a couple months later, they sped it up. And it was a lot.
Yeah, they did like a June update and a July update. I remember they announced in a direct, and that like added the quick start menu and stuff like that. Yeah,
but
that's
it
a
runs
good point.
fast. It sounds really good. It kind of reminds me of the DS with the sounds.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's good. I'm impressed. I think it looks good. I very excited to eventually get one. All right. So what I want to do for the end, and if to those who are watching the live stream of this, if you have any questions or a topic or anything you guys would like us to talk about for us, we'll give us a smidge of time for us to address anything like that. But here's something that I don't know is talked about a lot, but I thought it would be fun to speculate and think about for a bit. Or maybe even just the point of just saying what we'd like to see. But Nintendo has talked about a certain market that they want to try and get involved in that they haven't been involved in for a very, very long time. Not since the infamous Mario Brothers movie, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and the Legend of Zelda TV show. I'm trying to think if there's anything else any other property they made something into. I mean, they made Kirby Right Back at Ya. That was mid-2000s.
That was also not horrible.
That was not horrible. Well, I mean, the Mario Brothers Super Show wasn't bad. The Zelda show was silly. Like, it was ridiculous. Anyways,
princess.
so Nintendo has said that... Oh, sorry, what's up?
Saying, excuse me, princess.
Excuse me, princess. Nintendo has said that they want to continue to push their IPs. And one of the ways they have said that they are absolutely doing it. Like, this is not a question of if, it is a question of when. But is the movie/show realm. Movies, we're talking, I don't know, full feature-length film, show up in a theater. I don't know if it's a straight-to-DVD kind of a thing. I would imagine if you're Nintendo, you want to shoot for the full straight-to-film or straight-to-theaters. Or like maybe a Netflix kind of a thing.
Straight to
some
Nintendo
people
Video.
have seen... Marvel's obviously seen success with that. And just one other little thing that Nintendo's done that's in that sort of style, and this is something my wife really liked, and I enjoyed it quite a lot as well, was the little Pikmin shorts that they did. Yeah. Which is like a little movie, and I remember we watched that and we're like, wow, this would be a fun series to watch. So let me ask you this, Jellyfishin. You're now in charge of this nebulous Nintendo movie discussion division. What do you do? How do you want to see this roll out? What franchise would you pick, and would you make it a Netflix? Would you make it a movie? Well, how would you go about it?
If I was in charge of this division in Nintendo, I would choose Metroid, and I would make it a full-length
Metroid
film. Because
as a full-length film. Oh man, going big.
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Actually, I don't know if I would choose Metroid because the amount of special effects that would be necessary might be impossible from Nintendo.
Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Budget is an interesting thing when it comes to movies.
Smash. We have someone saying Smash movie. We need Subspace Emissary 2. The movie.
The Subspace. I think if you're gonna do Subspace Emissary, I would want it to be kind of like the way the game was, where it's like these short like vignettes. Like I think that's a Netflix series, or maybe even like a YouTube series, like a 20-minute little thing of just these characters dinking around. Because like the greatest cutscene Nintendo's ever done in my mind is the one where Luigi gets turned into a trophy by King Dedede.
Yes.
And the Waddle Dees steal Wario's car. That is one of the best things Nintendo has ever graced us with, in my humble opinion.
Ganon is in hell watching it all on his big TV. Anyways.
And Master Hand shows up out of nowhere, and then Taboo just kills him.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need like Dinosaur Office like episodes of the Subspace Emissary.
Yeah, I think that's one of those I would imagine most of the people listening to a Nintendo podcast remembers the little trailers Sakurai did for each of the character reveals. And those were a lot of fun. And to see that kind of developed further, like, there's a lot of potential there.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it were me, because I think the coolest things Nintendo has produced, at least recently in regards to anything like this, are two things that come to mind. I think the Pokemon Origins that they did not too long ago was really cool. And I mean, it's stupid to say, but a Pokemon TV show could be awesome. But like, I mean, I know they want to keep Ash and everything going, and I've actually heard the Pokemon TV show is actually pretty dang good. But I digress. The other thing I would like to see is, or that Nintendo's done recently I really liked, was the Star Fox animated short they did for Star Fox Zero's release. I think you could easily do a Netflix series about Star Fox.
Yeah.
I think the banter between those four guys, just, each episode is a different mission, maybe learning a little bit more about what happened to his dad and stopping Andros where he goes. I think Star Fox would be fantastic for a Netflix series.
Yeah, Star Fox would be really good. That's a good point. I think
Thank you.
Kid Icarus could be fun too. Because we have those like little shorts as well for Kid Icarus. And I mean, what?
Well, Kid Icarus Uprising felt like a Netflix series.
And I mean, just the banter. You mentioned banter, and believe it or not, the word banter is what brought up Kid Icarus in my mind. Because that's what the game is to me. It's fun game. Hilarious stuff that they talk about while you're killing things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would be remiss to say that I think Wonderful 101 could be a fantastic TV series. Yeah, I know. I'm Wonder Raid for a reason. Bias confirmed. But it's funny, actually. The first thing you brought up was a Metroid movie, and it's funny because I think doing a movie is so much harder than doing like a Netflix series.
Yeah.
Like, I think a movie's just gotta be good. Like, I mean, obviously a Netflix series has to be good, but I feel like you have a lot more room with Netflix than you do in a movie. And like, because I think, like, when I think of something you'd want to show on a big screen, you're either going the direction of like a Lego movie, which is just kind of like fun, bright and cheery, which you could do something with like the Mario or the Kirby world, or like a more kind of epic adventure, which is Metroid. Although you could make sci-fi horror, but I digress. Zelda. I think maybe you could rock like an Earthbound story.
Ooh.
The hardest thing with that is obviously a game like Earthbound or Mother 3, there's a lot that goes on, and when you only have an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours of runtime, can you get all of that in?
Well,
I think if they got eToy on board, I think they could nail Earthbound or a Mother style
the
movie.
hardest thing with that is that the West doesn't exist. The West doesn't, actually admit that those games exist.
Yeah. And if you look at like the way they did their mobile games, they picked like some of their biggest franchises for like to be ambassadors in this new market. Yeah. And so as much as I think it could work, there's no way Earthbound would get picked.
But I think talking about this, I mean, it really brings up, I mean, at least this is what I'm thinking of. Nintendo has real power with their characters. Like, when I was living in the U.S., I didn't think about it as much, but like, with just the power of characters here in Japan, like, it's ridiculous. Like, they had I don't know if you know, but the Cat Mario series of like short videos going on, and all those other.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I mean, they have the Isabelle and all her fandom going on, and I mean, Nintendo is like, it's always been about, your favorite characters, and just each character brings something so new into Nintendo that, and people are so attached to that having these like different, like maybe Netflix original series or whatever, or movies, or even just little short videos, that has lots of power. And I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, like, we can go back to Subspace Emissary, which is kind of like the golden example of this. But, like, everyone has their favorite Subspace Emissary cutscenes, whether it's Captain Falcon
killing Pikmin,
Falcon punching all of the Pikmin and the giant Rob all at once and being like, yes! Or Diddy dragging Fox and Falco away. Or maybe it's something like super cool, like Fox fighting Rayquaza,
or
like,
Game & Watch being
whatever it is. Like, everyone, like, even regardless of whether you think Subspace Emissary was quote unquote good, there was a lot of interesting cutscenes. Like, my favorite, I already said what my favorite, but my favorite like cool cutscene is when frickin' Peach is walking on the ship with her umbrella, and like Sheik teleports onto the R-Wing and like punches Fox out of the R-Wing or whatever, so and then like drags him back down, and then they're just sipping tea. I'm like, Nintendo is a crazy but a fun place.
Diddy dragging Fox on the ground.
That was so good. And then when he drags Falco, like, Fox just kind of shrugs his shoulders like, dude, just roll with it. There's nothing you can do.
Man. So good.
Well, I think there's a lot of potential here. I feel like Nintendo would have a lot more success in a Netflix world than they would in a movie world. I mean, I definitely think they can be successful in a movie, but I think a Netflix would fit them better.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe at E3 we hear something, because they've been talking about this for some time. With that being said, I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah, just a little...
I think the time is getting away from us.
Just a little something that we didn't mention that should probably be mentioned. I talked about how important characters are with Nintendo, but same with worlds, and that also kind of connects into the whole Universal Studios thing with the partnership what they have there. I think that is also another way of connecting IPs to, something that's really going to be fun. It's characters and worlds is what makes games fun. So,
absolutely. The worlds that the Nintendo characters have very distinct personalities. I mean, you brought up the Universal Studios. One of the patents that came out of that was a roller coaster ride that the patent seemed to suggest that you would be riding in a minecart style. And I'm like, as soon as I heard that Nintendo was doing some kind of theme park, I'm like, all right, all I need is a Donkey Kong minecart roller coaster ride. That's all I need.
You don't even like roller coasters.
Shh! Don't tell the street. Don't tell.
Well,
people.
yeah, and
That's my secret.
did you see what the patent was? Like,
It would let you change tracks.
well, so it was there's 2 tracks. So your car is actually, it looks like it's on a track that's right underneath the car, but it's actually on a track below it. So the track that on the top can disappear, and so it looks like you're jumping from one track to another track. Gee, I wonder what kind of game that they're trying to put there.
Super cool. Super
and the
cool.
Mario Kart one. That's got
the Mario Kart one.
Cool.
Too good.
Just bringing those experiences back together in such a Nintendo way. If they do it, I think they'll do it good.
Yeah, I think Nintendo is very much interested in the integrity of their IPs, that they're going to play it as good as they can. Yeah.
All those fan projects, all those tears from those fan projects. Oh
boy, that's an episode in and of itself right there.
All those IPs being protected from the fans.
Metroid 2 remake, rip.
Yep.
Pokemon Prism, rip. There's some other big Smash mod. I can't remember what it's called, but I don't even know if it was popular at all.
Wasn't it called Project Other M? It was Other M. That's what it was called.
Project Other M? I thought it was Project Brawl.
I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was Other M. Yeah.
Other M.
Other Brawl. That's what it was.
Other Brawl. Minus. Hey, Brawl Minus was legit. All right. Let's wrap this sucker up.
All right.
So let's just do shout outs. We, of course, will be here next week. Wednesdays usually the days we try to do this. So hopefully that means Wednesday nights they'll be up. Obviously today, for those who are here live, today is Thursday, so expect this up in a little bit later. We are looking to get this stuff on iTunes as well. For those who prefer this that way, heck, maybe you'll be listening to this on iTunes. But apart from that, we have our Twitches. Wonder Raid is mine. That's 2 R's. And my Twitter is the same as well. Jellyfishing, if you want to do your shout outs.
I'm at Jellyfish and then an N, the letter N. And my Twitter is Jellyfishing Dame, D-A-M-E. The name of this podcast until we decide that it sucks and we're going to change it, or we're going to keep it that way. So there you go.
Which will never happen.
We'll never decide. Thanks for all of you who've been here in the chat. It's been fun.
One of these days we're going to have to, I don't know if we've given in these new ones the explanation, for those who are new, why we came up with the name Dame. It has to do with Spanish and Japanese, which I speak Spanish, he speaks Japanese. But anyways, thanks for sticking around, everybody. We will catch you all next week as we march towards the launch of the Switch. Take care.